Hi, Mr. Max.
Hey, how are you?
I'm good. How are you doing today?
Excellent.
Good.
Okay.
My name's Todd Swope. I'm writing a review for your new book for the Clarion Call. It's a small paper for my university, and I want to ask you a couple questions.
Sure.
All right. First of all, was there any different writing processes that you used for writing Hilarity Ensues that different from the first two?
Yeah. I actually, basically, I wrote two books sort of like back to back, right next to each other. I'll finish first and Hilarity Ensues. In 20 seconds, really. All three of them I kind of wrote in one long stretch, so same process.
Okay. And I got Hilarity Ensues Saturday, actually, and I finished it right before the Super Bowl. And after reading it, I couldn't help but think to myself that looking at I Hope They Serve Beer in Hell and Assholes Finish First, that even though they were all, they're easily standalone books, but if you read them all together, it seemed like the story of you kind of comes full circle over the three books. Did you think about this, or did you notice this at all?
I think it's actually a very interesting point, dude, and I think it might be really interesting in the next few years to take all the stories and put them in like chronological order, like as they happen, because like there might be a totally different perspective on me and stuff. Yeah, I don't know, dude. It's weird. It's like the book, even though I never consciously like had a certain mindset as I wrote them, my energy, like how I was at the time I was writing the book, just can't help but come through,
Yeah.
And when I was writing Beer and Hell, I was just in a very different point than when I was writing Assholes Finish First. And then by the time I finished Assholes Finish First and got to Hilarity Ensues, I was at a different point again. So, yeah, I mean, if you saw that, then you're a closer reader than I think a lot of people, because I think it's there, but you kind of have to pay attention to it,
Yeah. Because I know I read, I was real excited to get the email that I'd get a chance to read the book early so I could write my review. So I went back through and I read, my favorite stories from the first two books. And then when I'd go to read Hilarity Ensues, it just kind of pieced together for me that it's like an overarching story that you could see the differences in who you were over the years, at least I could, through the stories.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's, if you read between the lines, I think that's absolutely accurate and fair. I think that, yeah.
All right. And if you would say, I know there's a lot of messages in your stories and in the books that a lot of people don't get, but if there was a message that you would just like to put out there for everybody to understand, what exactly would it be?
That's the weird thing about messages, that if you make them explicit and preachy, that people don't tend to listen. They kind of have to be, analogies or metaphors or narrative. But, if there was one sort of overarching theme to the book, the series of books actually, I would think that the theme would be something that, if you want to make the most, hold on. I want to think about how to phrase it without sounding like a goofy after school special or something.
Yeah, man, take your time.
I think if there was an overarching theme, it would be that your life is what you make it. And if you want to have a great life, you need to kind of go do those things and not be afraid to take some risks and kind of do the things that you want to do.
Yeah.
And whereas most people I think are afraid of a lot, whether they're afraid of failure or they're afraid of rejection or they're afraid of any number of things. And I'm not any smarter or more talented than any number of other people. I'm just less afraid.
Cool. I read your interview with Michael Ellsberg for Forbes, probably about 2 weeks ago, and I gotta say it was a very revealing thing. Like, what most people would think of you as the book is the complete opposite of what came through in that interview. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, I mean, here's the thing, man. I think a lot of people don't understand this about the book. And this might be a little bit my fault, but it never occurred to me when I wrote these stories that people would think that was all there was to me. Because I was writing, I started off writing by just writing to my for my friend. And so, when you're writing stories, to your friend, you don't have to give, subtext and context, and you don't have to, explain much because they already know you,
Mm-hmm.
And so it's it just seemed obvious to me that these are just, the coolest or craziest or most fucked up stories from my life, and that the rest of my life was whatever, relatively normal, right? But then once the story started getting out, and other people started meeting them, other than people who knew me, then they became kind of stripped of that context. And so people just took what was on the page and didn't fill it in themselves. Like, I think you'd have to be a little bit smarter, a little bit more mature, a little bit older to understand, okay, this dude is just telling stories like some drunk guy in a bar telling a great story. It's not supposed to be like his whole life. But dude, I would say 80% of people don't get that, or
Yeah.
miss some aspect of that,
Mm-hmm.
And so the Forbes piece, I think, was really sort of an attempt to explain, I guess, or show that there's obviously way, way more to me in my life than is in those books, But I couldn't put that in the books because that's what the books are about, man. The books are about entertaining people, and they're about making people laugh, and they're about, having a good time. The last thing my fans want to read in one of my books is some story about my problems or how I'm in a psychoanalysis or what the fuck ever. Like, come on, man. Like,
Yeah.
There are a lot of my fans who care about that stuff, but, they want to read it maybe in an article or an interview or something like that. And so that's, I think, the appropriate place to put it,
Mm-hmm.
Especially now that, you read it already, I'm retiring from frat tire and stuff. And so now I felt like it was the appropriate time to sort of talk about these things explicitly and publicly.
Yeah, I know. I wouldn't have even thought that you were the same person when I first read I Hope They Serve Beer in Hell back when I was a senior in high school. But, as I got...
Listen, the dude who wrote I Hope They Serve Beer in Hell is not the same guy who gave that interview.
Yeah.
You gotta be real clear about that, man.
Oh, I see it.
I wrote Beer in Hell 7 years ago, man. I was a very different person, in a lot of ways. Like, how old are you, 21, 22?
22.
22, okay. So imagine, think about how different are you at 22 than you were at, 17 or something, 18. You're immensely different, right?
Oh, yeah.
I mean, it's a little bit different with me because I was a little bit older, but it's not fundamentally different, dude. I wrote Beer Now when I was 28 or something, and dude, I'm so different now, so different. So many ways. It's very different.
Yeah, I know, because I remember, I thought back to myself preparing for this of what I thought of your writing back then, because I remembered some of the thoughts that went through my head when I first got the book. I was laughing on the way home just reading the back cover. And then as I reread them a couple weeks ago, I thought of just how it's changed and the subtle things that I've noticed and how there's a bit more message in your books than to just party and get fucked up and funk chicks, And I thought that's a lot of stuff that people misses that the Forbes interview really brought out.
Yeah, I mean, you're right, dude. You're exactly right. That's why I gave that interview. Is I wanted to make some stuff explicit that I think most people miss.
Yeah. I watched a lot of your interviews and stuff, the last couple of days, just to try to get a feel of, what I should ask you and, stuff like that. And I watched one about an hour ago that just kind of made me shake my head that you did on the Joy Behar show a while back about the people at USC. And, man, that was rough.
That's the nature of daytime TV or whatever, talk show TV. It's part of the game, man.
Yeah. All right. Do you have any advice for kids coming out of college? I know I graduate in a couple months, and I'm not sure what I want to be when I grow up. Do you have any advice for anybody coming out?
Honestly, the advice I would give you, man, is that you're coming into a world that is going to be very different than the world that you were trained for. Your school is designed to train basically corporate drones, and you're coming into a world where corporations are going to be either ineffective or slave drivers. And people are going to have to create their own jobs and their own niches and their own identities in a way that they didn't have to in the 20th century. So you better start getting entrepreneurial, and you better start doing it fast. And that doesn't just mean business entrepreneurial, it means personal too. You need to think of yourself as a startup. Your health, your emotions, your work, everything. If you frame it in that way, I think you can be very successful. But if you think that anyone or anything is going to take care of you or do that for you, you're going to get stuck.
Right, okay. Any advice to any starting up writers out there? Because I know you said when you first sent out your first, rough idea for a book that you got shot down by everybody. Do you have any advice for people starting up or thinking about giving it a try?
Okay. Here's, I'm actually going to write a big, long piece about this. That I'm going to turn into an ebook on my site or whatever, because I get asked the question a lot, and it's a good question, and there's not much good stuff out there about this. I would say the first thing you have to understand, if you want to be a writer, is that you're not writing for yourself anymore. You're writing for other people. If you just want to write for yourself, that's totally cool. That's called a journal, or a diary, or a blog. And go do that, right? But if you want to sell books, or you want to get eyeballs, articles, or something like that, you need to understand that the audience matters. And what you write has to be interesting and compelling to them, whoever the audience is. Whether it's 19-year-old fat boys or 90-year-old grandmothers or whatever. And that's the first thing you have to understand, and the last thing you have to understand. And most people don't understand it, I think. And yeah, that's kind of the big thing.
Okay. Now, I read a couple of places that, including Hilarity Ensues, that you're retiring and all that, and you're leaving the satire genre behind. Can you say anything about your next project at all? I'm just kind of curious.
Yeah, I got two, I think, that are coming up that I'm pretty sure about. One is I'm going to do a book of advice. I get so much so many requests from kids your age or younger. Last questions that I feel like are really basic, but, what's basic to a 20-year-old, or what's basic to a 30-year-old is not basic at all to a 20-year-old. And I don't think there's anything out there that really honestly and directly deals with the issues that most, teenagers, college kids face. And I'm kind of in a unique position to write that book. I'm just coming out of that, and, I have all the street cred in the world, and I'm willing to tell the truth, I'm not going to moralize or preach a kid, though you shouldn't drink bullshit. It worked great for me. You should try it. If you like it, have fun, whatever. But I'm going to do that, and then I actually just signed another project that kind of came out of nowhere. So I can't tell you who it is, because just people want to announce, but a big A-list movie star, like one of the highest grossing movie stars of all time, doing an autobiography. And I did not know this, but he is a big fan of mine. And his people, he didn't call me, but his people got a hold of me and asked me if I would be interested in co-writing it with him. And I was like, fuck yes. As soon as they told me who it was, I was like, fuck yes.
Next thing I wanted to ask, this is just more kind of for me, just out of curiosity, because it was bugging me. I saw your application to work as your assistant on your new project. So, for shits and gigs, I sent my application and never heard anything back for it. But what was the Jason Williams you were asking for? Because I swear to God, I spent like an hour trying to figure that out.
Yeah, dude. Well, I guarantee you what you messed up was the magazine thing. Did you actually go back to TuckerMax.me and look at it? Because after each round, I put like an analysis of the questions and what people, not individual people, but what mistakes people made were. Go back and look, and you'll see. Where did you do your research? Like, what site did you use for the magazine?
I went through and I used regular old Google, and then I used the website for all the research that our university uses, and I think I ended up going with Reader's Digest.
Yeah, now Reader's Digest was the right answer in 09 or 08.
Okay.
Not 2010 or 2011.
All right.
A lot of people made that mistake. The big thing I did, man, was I went into Wikipedia and changed the magazine, and no one, I would say 50% of people just copied Wikipedia and didn't check the sources, and so that eliminated half the people after that. The Jason Williams thing, I didn't care which Jason Williams you used. It was just, I wanted to make sure people could follow simple directions, attach, pictures to email and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And, there's 15 different Jason Williams you could have used. It was just, the first round of stuff was basically just an exercise and seeing if people can follow instructions. And then go look on the site. It shows what the second and third round. I'm about to put the third round out stuff next week. It shows what the second and third round stuff are.
Oh, all right, cool. I'll definitely have to check that out. Well, that's all I got for you, man. I got to thank you for taking time out of your day to talk to me, and I'm going to go finish up writing my review.
My pleasure. Good interview, man.
All right, thanks, man.
No problem. Thank you.